just have a seat right there.
Great.
Alright. Been a long day, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Alright. I know we met before, but I'm Constable Davidson.
Okay.
And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have you, if you want to, just write out on this paper, basically when you got up yesterday to when you went to sleep last night,
Okay.
and all the important details of the day
Okay.
that you want to write down. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna go set up in the next room.
Okay.
And then I'll be back to talk to you.
Okay.
You all finished there?
Yeah.
All right. Just gonna, do you mind if we just, if I take the phone out of them just for the fun moment there, so we're not distracted?
Okay.
I'll be back to the end, I promise. You can just have a seat there.
Oh, I thought you said we were going to another room.
No, well, I take this to another room. I'll be right back. Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, did you power that off? I just didn't want to ring it there. Did you power it down? It looked like it was, but.
It's on silent.
Oh, okay.
So you want me to power it down? Jeez. This is a new phone, so
Okay.
it's just.
I know mine. You press it at the top and then it goes down. But I know they're all different.
This one?
Mine.
Oh, maybe I did.
Yeah.
Maybe I got it. No, I didn't.
It might be it there. Looks like it. They all work different, huh? So I know we met before, like I said, I'm Constable Davidson. And what I'm just going to do is just kind of go through, I guess, the events, you know, over the last little bit.
Okay.
And I just wanted to get an idea of, you know, of what you can offer me, because of course we're looking into everything, talking to everybody about this, and any little bit helps. And any information that you have or that you can lend is certainly going to assist us. And so I guess just if you have anything on your mind right now about you know, the events, certainly just go ahead and we'll talk here.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing that's on my mind is what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this seems to be something that's not. It's pretty clear in my head that he didn't have a heart attack and die. Something's happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, so the first thing that runs through your head is, you know, is this one of those you know, crackhead type things or whatever, where someone goes in and, you know, does that kind of thing, or, you know, like sort of being in the wrong place at the wrong time,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing, or you know, some sort of, or maybe it is natural and it's a drug reaction, but it just doesn't, you know, some sort of a drug intake reaction, but it just, I don't know, just doesn't smell like that's what's going on. So
Right.
your mind's just racing. It's like, this just seems really just troubling, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, as far as anything I have to offer, you know, I mean, he's a healthy guy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy sails like crazy. He up until last year, I think he used to ski 40 days a year. That was his goal.
Uh-huh.
You know, for a guy 69 years old. I mean, you know, people go to Sugarloaf with him and they can't keep up.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, it's starting to show a little bit. He goes to bed a little earlier, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I mean, his health is great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, was he the easiest guy in the world to get along with? No.
Mm-hmm.
But not to the point where, you know, someone would, you know, who knew him would want to do something to him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that. I mean, I think most people would say, okay, yeah, he's hard to get along with, but he was never, he was never violent. He was never totally, completely unreasonable that you couldn't sort of go, okay, well, that it didn't entirely make sense. But I mean,
Right.
Knowing him as long as we all have, you know a person's character, and
Sure.
you know when to keep your distance, and,
Yes.
that kind of thing. And,
Yeah.
and look, with him, it was a lot easier to keep your distance
Mhm.
because it just kept the peace.
Right.
And so.
How was your relationship with him? From I guess when you were younger to now, and
Yeah, I would say that my relationship with my dad was probably perfect until, I was a teenager.
mm-hmm.
And then, my teenage years with him were very difficult.
Right.
I was the only son, so I think I took
Mhm.
most of the pressure.
Yes.
I think his upbringing was, tougher than mine.
Mm-hmm.
His father was a military guy, and grew up with that generation,
Mm-hmm.
living through the Depression and everything. His father wasn't easy on him, and my father suffered, when he was younger, from dyslexia, and we could, certainly as a family, you could tell he had some sort of spectrum thing, going on as he was older, and
Yes.
that would rear its ugly head at times, where
Mhm.
you would see somebody who, was impatient and did have some, sort of family social issues. I mean, my father and I weren't close father and son. I
Mhm.
mean, we, as I said, in my teenage years, it was great when I could go off. I was a counselor at Camp Lumber, and I could go off
Right.
for the summer and I'd be gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to.
When did you work there? I was out there actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in there 95.
Okay, I was much earlier. It was
Okay.
1980, CIT
Okay.
in 1983.
Right.
I was done in 1987.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great spot out there.
Oh,
Great job.
wonderful. And my
Yeah.
kids go now, and it's just fantastic.
Yeah.
And, that was, well, you know what it's all about. It was
Mhm.
a wonderful spot. And,
Yes.
and so I was there all summer, and it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I was, look, you just grew up in a family of really high expectations.
Yes.
And I think when you're an adult, you understand, and when you're a parent, you understand that, those expectations, why they're there, and that kind of thing.
Right.
And I was gone to university. I was gone, lived in Toronto for 5 or 6 years, or 4 or 5 years, and moved back here. And we would do some stuff together. We would obviously always have family dinner things, whether it be Thanksgiving or Christmas, and
Yes.
some of those were not always pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
I would. Again, this is one of those things like you see in the movies. Everything is regimented.
Yes.
Okay, everything has to be perfect. Everything gets put down,
Okay.
and you're a waiter the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
and you're on your toes. And if something messes up, then
You're to
you just. And so it's those intense situations where everything has to be perfect when he
Mhm.
can sort of, or would, it wouldn't go over well. But this guy was somebody who he was a bit of a nut in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, like, if he was ever in a car, he could tell you how fast it would go, top
Right.
speed. And, if he went skiing somewhere, he would ski and take us all down the steepest hills.
Yeah.
We had an old 1970s four-wheel drive truck, and
Yeah.
that was everywhere. We had horses in the family, and we galloped across the river in the winter.
Yeah. Is that right?
So you can imagine how exciting that was at the
Yes,
same time.
For sure.
And this is a guy who was recently living his dream. I mean, his one item on his bucket list, and that's to sail.
Mhm.
And God, the guy was winning races.
Mm-hmm.
And that was good. But he and I didn't have that close father-son relationship. I think we would do well just by. He had this thing that you can't be friends with your son.
Right.
And I get that. He
Mhm.
wasn't friends with his father. I don't think I wanted to be friends with him.
Mm-hmm.
But and he would say and do things that could be hurtful. But if you didn't see a lot of each other, particularly in the last few years because he was racing, I hardly see him at all.
Right.
So none of us did. And like my sisters did, and my mom went on a trip with them last year down in the Caribbean somewhere. and it was a good time and that kind of thing. And my brother-in-law just went on a fishing trip with them, and I think they just got back a couple of days ago. And for me, I guess the time that I've seen them is when we've been doing this family history stuff, and that's why I was over there yesterday.
Yeah.
And we both have this. I got it from him, but I mean, we both have this real enjoyment in doing genealogy stuff, and I started picking up on it, and I think just being a bit more internet savvy or that sort of thing, I was able to really progress things along, and through a cousin in California who's more his age than mine, was able to get a lot of work. So I'd be sharing this with him, and because he has this wonderful computer system and he can upload all this stuff. So if I've got things written down, it's just me, then I can share it with him. And it's sort of an interesting thing because we have our family. They had this Halifax Oland family who were really, really rich and really, really drove around in fancy cars and big houses and all this. And they ended up having to sell their business because they were too worried about appearances as opposed to, more the St. John way where everything's quiet. And so, we would have a lot of conversations about that, and particularly the history where you could see all these fabrications were built up about, people being more than what they actually were.
Yeah.
So I mean, we do that. So we, that was kind of a thing where we would, having a common interest, and it was sort of the thing where we could have a conversation back and forth without it getting heated or without it getting like that. I mean, but look, we were in business together too. Well, not together. He's a client of mine.
Okay.
I'm his stockbroker, one of his stockbrokers, and have been for ever since I've been back here, so over 15 years.
Right.
And I manage a part of his investment portfolio. So we talk on the phone when he's home quite often, or email conversations, text conversations, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The common link between the two of you, I guess, at this point, through your communications, is business or sailing, something like that.
Yeah, well, we don't sail together. It's funny. We've tried, and we just we did this when I was a teenager, and it went okay. Yeah. But he's just a real hard guy to be on a boat with, so we just stopped.
That should work, huh?
Well, he just barks and barks and barks, and so we just stopped. It was just it wasn't good for our relationship, so we just didn't do it.
Okay.
And we just agreed to disagree.
So how have the last few years been? I know you said, growing up in the teenage years and that sort of thing have been a little more, have they gotten better with you guys?
Well, I think it's when you're an adult and you have your own kids and you have your own life and you don't really see your father that much, it automatically gets better.
Yes.
There's been occasion where we've had, some phone sort of arguments, but there's been nothing. There's that overall blanket that this guy is a really difficult person to get along with, and I think when you're a teenager, you wear it differently. Like, this guy's coming down on me. He's a jerk all the time. He's so hard on me. When you're my age, I can actually look at him and say, it's not all his fault because he had such a hard upbringing. He had, his dyslexia, and mom thinks he had this thing, Asperger's, which is sort of like it's almost like autism. This intensely intelligent person, but lacks certain social skills.
Yes.
And that was his thing, where he could throw a lot of people off, including me and everybody else in the family. But that worked to his advantage as well, because he had no fear. I mean, look, the biggest thing my father did for me, and it was a surprise, a very pleasant surprise, when I went through a divorce 3 or 4 years ago now, maybe 4 years ago, and it was a very bitter experience.
Yes.
And an experience where I was very likely going to lose my home. And this is a home that it's an old family home. It was owned by my grandparents, been in the family for 70 years.
It's very important.
And there's a farm behind it, and he stepped up and said, "Look, that's not going to happen." And basically, believe my sisters, or I know my mother knows a little bit, but I don't think she knows. I don't think they know this. That he basically bankrolled my whole divorce case, which ended up being $85,000. It was a very lengthy divorce.
Yes.
And then, because I had to basically give half of my assets to my ex-wife, he bankrolled that as well, so that I could keep my house.
Right.
So basically, I have a mortgage with him, which is an interest-only mortgage. So, you know, I pay $1,600 a month versus I was paying before like $2,500 a month, because I had to give up so much money.
Yes.
You know, I had to give him my farm, which was about $125,000, to him in exchange for some of this, but that was fine because, you know, the farm hasn't changed. Jacqueline, my sister, runs the farm, everything's so. You can imagine, you know, when you have this somewhat difficult relationship with your father, when the going gets tough, he stepped up.
Right.
You know, and I mean, that's very powerful stuff.
It showed you that even though your relationship may have been strained on the outside,
Right.
he was still a father deep down.
Exactly.
For sure.
You know, and that was fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
Are you still there?
Oh yeah.
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 Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
good.
So I've remarried with
Yeah.
Lisa, and she has a son, so I have a stepson, and you know, my ex-wife lives in Renforth, and we live in Rossay, and you know, it would have been very different had he not, you know. And to his credit, he never threw it in my face.
Yes.
Like he never let that hang over me.
Right.
And in our family, you know, you don't get given stuff. I mean, you know, we've had a very fortunate upbringing, okay,
Yes.
but there's been nothing, you know, he doesn't go buy you things, he doesn't take you on
Right.
trips and spend the money. If you want to go on a trip, you know, you pay your own way and we'll all have a good time.
Yes.
You know, not that that's happened, but I mean, the exception of when they all went last year, actually the only reason my wife and I didn't go was because we had already planned a trip ourselves, and we were asked to go, and we're going to go. And so, yeah, it was just a bit of an eye opener almost. Like, okay, he's legit. You know, he was one of those guys that always said, like, you know, if you ever get sick or one of your kids gets sick, we'll send them off somewhere and get the best care, and we'll make sure that everything's as good as we can do.
Right.
So, I mean, you will talk to some people and say he was a ruthless bastard, and you talk to other people and say, yeah, but, you know, he
had that shining light there.
Well, yeah,
that
I mean,
you saw,
and sometimes it was just quiet, you know, and maybe in the case of my sisters and mother not knowing as much is because, you know, it's not really fair to help out one child over the other, and I think his intention was always to make sure that he equalized that out, because you know, at the end of the day, we were talking about, you know, a loan of $500,000 or $600,000. It was a lot of money, and I was grateful for it.
Right, of course.
Yeah,
as anybody would be.
As anybody would. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. Going back over the last few years, was there anything in your mind that would stick out as being unusual or different? Did your father ever bring anything up while talking that concerned you, maybe, or?
He personally, no. I mean, there is. I'm sure you've heard this already from the others. I mean, there is this family concern that he's had an affair, or was having an affair, or what have you. And my sister Lisa is sort of the one who's followed this whole thing for the last 2 or 3 years, and you know, I think at first you turn a blind eye to it, and then I guess it's one of those things that if you don't see it happening and you're not aware it happens, you don't really know what to do. And you know, and this woman, I know of her a little bit. I don't think I've ever met her, but I know who she is. I mean, she works in the same real estate office as my ex-wife.
Okay.
And you know, funny enough, when my ex-wife started to work in the real estate business, in that office, one of her first introductions to this woman, Diane, was, you know, your mother-in-law is an asshole or a bitch. You know, it's like, and my mother is just like, no one ever says that about her, right? Because she just doesn't have that in her. And so, you know, as time passed, or more time passed, and Lisa was starting to, you know, I don't know, she found a jar of Viagra.
This is your sister?
This is my sister.
Right. Okay.
And, as far as I know, my parents haven't had sex for a long time.
Mhm.
So there's no need for the Viagra, whether
Mhm.
that is associated with her or him doing something with somebody else. I mean, look, this guy had a whole other life outside of his family because of all this sailing. And he's gone, this is probably an exaggeration, but he's gone 6 months out of the year.
Mhm.
He's back and forth, but he could be gone for a month and then back for a
Right.
few weeks and then gone skiing or gone salmon fishing. or
Always
whatever.
doing something.
Yeah, so I mean, and I feel guilty right now of not sort of saying anything to my mother or about it, but I just didn't know if it was true or not. So I just sort of said, Lisa, this is your thing, and I'm just gonna say out of it. I did start to get concerned, and this is probably a year ago, that people might be finding out about this.
Mhm.
So I called. No, I didn't call. I was actually having a meeting with Bob McFadden because he really was helping out with all this divorce stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dad basically gave me Bob and said, he's an accountant, so he was really helpful.
Yes.
And I said to Bob, this is a story out there, and if it's true, you don't need to tell me. But if you know about it, you need to tell Dick that, people know,
Mm-hmm.
and that it should stop. And we never talked about it ever again.
It was never brought up ever again?
Not with Bob, no.
No.
I mean, Lisa and I talked about it. I've had a brief conversation or two with Jacqueline. Jacqueline didn't really know until more recently, but when I asked her if she knew, she said, well, yeah, I've been hearing things, or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I mean, in Lisa's case, she's at my parents' house a lot more,
Right.
so she would be receiving calls from this woman who would either laugh on the phone or hang up, or she would be seeing her, or supposedly seeing her around the street, sort of
Yes.
stalking, for lack of a better term, and I mean, this woman's reputation is a real kind of hot-blooded type
Mhm.
of person. I mean, she called the house this morning, and I'm sure you heard that it must, lost her temper, or was not pleasant.
She called.
Well, she apparently had a meeting this morning with Maureen,
Okay.
and so she was out front of the building
Okay.
and wasn't being let in. Of course, the police was everywhere, so she called the house and
I see.
spoke to my mother and said, what's going on? And of course, my mother didn't know anything, so she, I think, told her off.
Your mother did?
No, Diane told
yeah.
my mother off,
Mhm.
saying, I don't know the exact words.
Yes.
You're being a bitch, and you know what's going on. You get to tell me what's going on. I think my mother hung up on her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was quite heated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, which led me to believe that maybe they've had other conversations. I don't know.
Could have.
But, anyways, that's.
So what was Bob's reaction when you brought that up to him? Just more or less, don't involve me in this?
He didn't say don't involve me. He just said duly noted.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Mhm.
Like stone faced.
Right.
He didn't say he wouldn't talk to him. He didn't say he would. He
And
just
that's the last you heard of it?
he just that was it. I mean, it was just, I think it was just mutually understood.
Mhm.
As guys can do very well. That
Yeah.
it was said, and if you choose to do something, do it. If you don't, then fine. And had I thought about doing it myself? Yeah, but I just well, Lisa ended up having a few conversations with him, or arguments or whatever. I think quite some time ago they were had a fight, and she spilled the beans that she assumed this was going on, or knew it was going on, or whatever, and that's sort of been. I don't think since then. I don't think they really talked a whole lot.
Right.
It just was. She just knew a whole lot more than the rest of us did, and she was convinced that this was a legit thing, and that he was a dirty pig, I guess,
Mhm.
because of it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And those, you and your sisters talk.
Well, Lisa and I would talk about that. I mean, we didn't really have many conversations with Jacqueline about it,
Right.
Until, I probably had some conversations with her over the summer, last summer, or whenever Jacqueline sort of took over running the farm from a more detailed way.
Yeah.
So I was helping her because there was going to be a lease agreement between her and my father.
Mhm.
So I was helping her iron out the lease agreement.
Right.
And then so we would end up getting into these other conversations about, about my father's attitude. Like, Jacqueline, for example, has lupus, so she's not as able to have the same income that I or Lisa could have.
Mhm.
She had a bit of a disadvantage that way, and I don't know. You just sort of think that, Dick's got some money, he might help her out a little bit,
Mhm.
not a lot, just a little bit.
Mhm.
And the farm itself is in some ways almost derelict, and he was trying to get, an exorbitant amount of money out of her every month for rent, right? Which would not have made it a going concern.
Right.
So he was just heavy-handed, and
Mhm.
so we sort of do our grumbling about it, and then I think it might have been then that I said or she might have said are you aware that of these rumors or whatever.
Mhm.
So other than that, I mean, everything else that he did, I mean, he seemed to go through friends.
Yes.
Like when we were growing up, I mean, he'd have all these friends, and he just seemed to exhaust them. I think, his intensity would just
I know what you mean.
just exhaust them, and they just throw their hands up. And I mean, he made one
Couldn't
mistake.
keep up with them.
Yeah. Well, one thing, they couldn't keep up with him. But I meant, he made one mistake. This is a number of years ago with his best friend.
Mhm.
Basically, this guy's son was marrying this woman, this McCain, somebody from the McCain family,
Mhm.
and Dad was friends with the McCains and had a mutual lawyer, and told the lawyer that this McCain girl was making a big mistake
Mhm.
marrying this guy, his best friend's son.
Right.
And well, that got backed,
Of course.
and it just things weren't the same. I mean, people like that tend to say inappropriate things. They don't realize that you have to filter some
Right.
information. So yeah, I mean, it was unfortunate for him because he did push the wrong buttons sometimes, and
Mhm.
all those friends that were always around growing up just aren't around.
Right.
I don't think there's like a big hate or anything. I think that they see each other at cocktail parties, or
Yes.
every once in a while there might be some dinner, but it's just not the same.
Right.
But it's funny, those things don't get under his skin. At least they didn't appear to.
Mhm.
I mean, he just moved on and do other things. I mean, the sailing thing, he doesn't do that with any of his friends. The fishing he does. I mean,
Mhm.
he's an avid salmon fisherman, and all of his buddies, do that, and they
Annual event, they do that.
yeah, they do that, and he fished a lot more before he got heavy into the sailing. But
Mhm.
even still, I mean, he tries to get a lot of fishing days in and make sure that his friends are there.
Yeah. Well, the
So-
sailing takes a lot of time, so I'm sure it took
Yeah.
away from the salmon
Yeah,
fishing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the business dealings that you had with him now, was that something that had gone on for a long time?
Yeah. Well, I mean, right from the beginning, really.
And that was how many years ago?
Oh, geez, 1994, 1995, I think
Okay.
I started. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, we rode some rough times with that too, because we had two major stock market crashes.
Yes.
But my business relationship's a bit different with him than other clients, because I am generally the advisor with
Mhm.
most of my clients. In the case with him, I'm more of an order taker.
Ah.
He sort of managed his own thing because he had retired from the trucking business and
Mhm.
retired from a lot of his volunteer work, and he decided he was going to run an investment management company, basically. And I would be, one of his advisors and
Mhm.
things like that. Was it a perfect relationship? No. I mean, if something went wrong, he would fly off, or if the phone wasn't picked up on the third ring, he's quite meticulous, right?
Yeah.
So you'd hear about it,
Mhm.
and that sort of thing. And it was at one point actually it was quite lucrative, because the stock market in the late 1990s was very, very strong.
Mhm.
And at the same time, his own father had died,
Mhm.
and he had received some inheritance, so
Mhm.
there was money there.
Mhm.
But unfortunately, some of it got kicked out at the knees because of the market, and
Right.
and also
Which happens.
he was diversifying as well,
Yes.
which happens,
Mhm.
and doing some other things. And but no, it's been a long-term relationship. He's not my biggest client, but he's definitely a sizable client, and we plod along, and John Travis, who was my branch manager, is a lifelong friend of my father's. Actually, his mother was a lifelong friend, but John used to work with him in the trucking business, and back in the days, well, John's known him since he was a teenager. John's, I don't know, probably about 5 years older than me. So when I'm not at work or and I can't take a call, John always looks after it. So he's almost my, number two guy to look after that. So it worked out well. Yeah.
And how would you talk weekly, or what would be the frequency that you guys would meet?
Well, look, we wouldn't talk a lot when he was away, obviously, because if he was away, he was out of the country, but he would, if he had some things to do, he'd send an email, or he would call Maureen, and Maureen would give me a call.
Right.
When he was home, I would say once or twice a week. If he was home, but then again, if he's busy, Maureen would just call.
Yeah.
And so if we were talking about things, it would be because I've gone over the house, and he's out he's got an amazing workshop, and
in the garage.
In the garage, yeah.
So
very handy, and I'm very lucky to grow up doing the same thing. So, I'd go in and we could talk there, and I'd end up helping him with something, because it's funny, even though it's really big, there's not enough room for everything. So all the summer stuff has to get pushed back at the end of the summer, and the winter stuff pushed forward, and then vice versa. So it's a lot of stuff to get shuffled around or lifting. So you do that, and my brother-in-law Matt probably does it more than I do. But so that's the one you can have some discussions and whatever.
Kind of work away at the same time.
Yeah.
Maybe poke your brain for things, and
you just sort of. I think we're both people that we kind of have to be moving when we're thinking. So if we're doing something and we're working at something at the same time, we can talk or working on a project together. And those things are not as common as they used to be. Again, because he's not around, or I've got kids and a new wife, and it's different. But it's funny, because every once in a while you go and borrow something, and if you don't return it on time, you get in trouble.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you tend to not borrow anymore.
So he would notice if anything was gone there.
Oh yeah, yeah. You borrow a sledgehammer.
You'd have to sneak it back.
Yeah, you have to sneak it back.
Yeah. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
All right, and if you were meeting at many times a week, and was there any? I mean, I know you say there's disagreements and that sort of thing, but is there any times when there was anything really big that stood out to you, where you guys had a really big falling out disagreement, where you didn't communicate for a long time or anything like that?
Last time we had a big fight, like where you don't speak for a week or something. Well, it's funny, even if we have a big fight, because we were doing business together, you were forced to talk. But it's interesting, because you're talking about business, not about personal stuff. So he would call, and like, it's amazing how quickly water would be under the bridge. So I'm trying to think of the last time we have a big fight. I mean, I certainly remember a Christmas dinner, not last year, it might have been 2 years ago, where he blew a gasket of something simple. When you have a Christmas cake and you pour hot rum over it, and you let it flame. Okay, well, it was my job to do that, and it flamed for like 30 seconds and flamed out. So by the time I got it from the kitchen into the dining room, it flamed out. Well, it was a big fight over that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, not physical, but I mean, it was ugly. I might have left. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, everybody was very upset. Probably around the same time as that, one of the first boats that he got, we were sailing together, and I had been getting a lot of sailing experience on my own, sailing ocean races and that kind of thing, and had come back from ocean races and getting on his boat, and he's been a lifelong sailor, but he hadn't been sailing in bigger boats and with all this gear, and so I think he had a hard time with the experience that I had, and I had a hard time with him wanting to do everything his way.
Right.
Basically, when you're on a boat, just because you're driving the boat doesn't mean you're in charge, because your job's to drive the boat.
Yes.
If I'm, which I usually am, at the very front of the boat doing something, my job is to run the front of the boat, not to drive it, and not to tell the driver what to do.
Right. Everybody's got their own role.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had a big fight then, and I think that might have been the last time I sailed on the boat, that boat with them. But it was more, barking at each other and stuff like that. I mean, you're 20 feet away from
And
each
that's
other.
something you had grown up with, as you stated earlier. It's just something that you had known.
Oh, it still
anyway.
bothers you. Don't get me wrong. It bothers you, but it bothers you differently because you're dealing with somebody who, if such a quest for perfection that they almost get tunnel vision. They can't see that something right here is, if that was just fixed, the boat would work better. So it sort of gets frustrating, but then you realize, well, it's not my boat, and I'm not going to embarrass my father in front of everybody, even though he has no problem embarrassing me. But I think people on the boat would accept it. That would be, the norm. And on some boats, there are a lot of fathers and sons who can't sail together, and that kind of thing. I mean, those would be the bigger ones. I mean, there's a ton of small ones. There's a ton of sort of phone conversations where inappropriate things were said or hurtful things were said, where you just sort of like, geez, you can't do that, or you can't say that. And again, because I don't talk to him as much on the phone like Maureen more does it, those things were few and far between as well.
Right.
I think, quite frankly, he's been on his really good behavior in the last little while because he and Lisa had a big fight, a month or two ago, and I think this was kind of funny. My two brother-in-laws were fighting, not fist fighting, but having an argument, and he got involved. And it was nothing to do with him, and basically, took it out on my sister, and then she played the "you're having an affair" card, and we all know about it. And he was, after that, he was Mr. Nice Guy.
Okay, just wanted to.
Yeah. So, and look, I don't know if he was having an affair or not. I just know.
And I guess going on that, when you guys sailed together or did anything together business-wise, did you ever have any personal conversations? Would he ever tell you anything about about his life personally that maybe was on his mind? Hey, this is bothering me, or this, I want to tell you about this.
No, he never. He wasn't that type of person. He was, I think, a product of his generation, men of that era, that really didn't have those, I guess, heart-to-heart conversations. Yeah.
Who, I guess, in your mind, would he most trust with those conversations?
Bob McFadden. Well, I mean, those personal conversations.
Yeah, like I
don't know, but I mean, Bob
buddies.
would know. Bob's the guy who's closest to him. Bob is his right-hand man, but a friend as well.
Yes.
I don't know that Dad would have anybody that he would
confide in.
Yeah, I mean, I think if not confide in the same way that you and I would with our friends, it's not that kind of thing. Like, if I'm having trouble with my kids or something, or with my wife, I could say, like, what would you do? He wouldn't care what anybody else would do.
Right. He'd just do it his own way.
He would just do it his own way, and whatever. Like I think over the years when he was younger, I know that he would have had conversations with his friends about the poor relationship that he had with his father, and the crap that he had to deal with, and he and his brother have had a terrible time. They went through a very bitter separation of Moosehead. They had a legal battle, and it was quiet and everything, but it was he's had this lifelong battle with his brother, and it's his father's fault because his father basically said, "You two are against each other, fight for it," which is just dumb, right? So and look, all of his friends were aware that was going on, and aware that these two guys couldn't be two more different people. But geez, in the last 10 years, I don't know. He's had a lot of different friends.
Yeah.
He had, in his J boat that he had, because it was all amateur sailors, he would just have local St. John people.
Yes.
And and they would he would go off with some of them on to boat shows like down in the States and stuff. Jim Bolins, who was he's snowplow driver for the city,
Mm-hmm.
and he crew on the boat. And Dad would say, "Okay, we're going to go to a boat show, or I'm going to take you to ski somewhere in the States." And I got to think. Now I do recall, Jim having conversations with him about his kids are divorced, and Dad seemed to be listening. So maybe it went the other way, but I just think that those would have been few and far between.
Right.
He just didn't.
Wasn't that type of guy.
No, he wouldn't have. No, when someone asked him, how his kids were, he said, "Oh, this, that, or the other thing," or his grandkids.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hannah, my daughter, just won. She's representing New Brunswick in Newfoundland for a basketball team, for under 13 basketball, and they did a fundraiser to get over there, and to everyone's surprise, my father kicked in $1,000, which again he never does.
Right.
And
but again, that's surprising. Hey, there's a heart
but
there.
see, Hannah is in some ways like him. She's an overachiever,
Mm-hmm.
and he really, I don't want to say favorite, but I mean he sees, a shining light here. It says, I can get behind this. This is an investment I can get into. And so geez, not only did they get over there and everything, they won, and Hannah got tournament MVP.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So actually, the other day I was talking with Maureen about a letter that he was going to send to Hannah as a congratulations letter, and I was nervous because Hannah hadn't yet called him to thank him for the money, and I was like, oh my God, this is, you got to call him, and unfortunately that can't happen. So, yeah.
I want to now just focus on of course the last 24 hours and everything that had happened. I know a lot of things had happened, and I just want to go through, I guess, of what happened yesterday and run through the day for me.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, until I went over to his office, it was a very typical day. You get up in the morning, go to work. I stop at park at Brunswick Square. Stop at Tim Hortons in Brunswick Square. I work in Brunswick House, 5th floor, Woodgundy, and work all day and doing typical work or doing some hobby stuff, doing some family history things, and I did a trade with him. He would have called the office. I think I wrote down. I know I was just going to head out for lunch, and I was already late. And the phone rang. We have our special phone for him because if someone's going to pick it up, Tony gets mad. And so I, got the phone and we did this trade. And I think after that I got my lunch, and then I came back, and the trade was hooky because I had to email him the transaction after it's done, and it was a bit hooky because there was a stock split. So what he wanted sold and what actually got sold were different things. So we had a conversation about that, and then
what time was that at?
Let's say 3-ish, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
The first conversation would have been there's probably an hour between the two. But I think I had lunch around 2. I just went down to Tim Hortons again, got a sandwich. I don't really go out for lunch. I just work through lunch and stuff like that, or I use that as time to tinker. But yeah, and for the last number of months, I've been going over and giving him my family history stuff.
Okay.
Like we have this gap of let's say between the 1500s, some missing parts between the 1500s to 1600s, and even though I have this, I can't prove all these people are Olands. He wants all the information anyways. And then we have this sort of funny story where there's this kid named John Oland, but we can't figure out who his father is. Well, we realized that the son's born illegitimately. And we figured that out because we finally got a copy of a will that says, John Oland's my son.
Okay.
And he had wanted that for a long time. So because he wasn't convinced in his own head how this was going to go. So that's kind of the detail we get into, right? Yeah. And
it was the detail over the will of the son?
No, the will of the father saying...
The will of the father.
The will of the father, this guy's last name was Bryce,
I see.
saying that he had a son with the last name Oland.
Ah.
Okay, so the girl, the mother, whose last name was Oland. So our family name is derived from a female, not a male. Okay, because back in Bristol, England.
That's very interesting.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
would sometimes shake you, I guess, if you were trying to find it, the line, and got misguided.
Well, yeah,
somewhere.
because it was just this Judy Bingham in California.
Okay.
She's been doing this since 1975. This was a 20-year hole for her.
Yeah.
She couldn't figure out how this is working,
Okay.
and I was able to figure it out for her about 3 or 4 years ago, just by fluke. And so, which opened up a whole window of being able to go back, in time again. But my father it's funny because he has his ways of doing things. He wants to build a family tree, so he wants to have this big picture of where he is and then where everybody else is. And that's great because then you got to build. But then, well, who was that person? Who was this person?
Yes.
What did they do? And all this. And because of the internet, you can get all that stuff. So you could go and you could do some work and you can find some interesting things. So, quite often, really, I drop in and go, here's some more information. So that's what I was doing yesterday, and dropped off, basically a sheet of paper. Well, it was more than that, and I can get into. Do you want me to get into real specific detail, or?
Yeah, just whatever. Yeah.
I mean, it sort of paraphrases what I wrote down. I mean, I went over there. I'm thinking. I know I got there once, and I realized I forgot some stuff at the office. So I got back in my car to go back to the office, and then
What time did you get there the first time?
Around 5:30, but before, it would have been 4 or 5:30, because I think the second time it was, I was there probably, Maureen left after I got there.
The first time?
No, the second time.
Okay.
So I didn't go in the office the first time. I went to
see.
the top of the stairs, and I might have used the bathroom, and then I left, and then came back. I went to go back to my office, but I don't have a key, and it was too late to go back in. So obviously it was after 5,
Right.
because everything gets shut down.
At your office?
Yeah.
At 5,
Yeah, they I don't know what time they lock the elevator, but you need one of those,
Ah,
same thing you guys have around here,
yeah.
those little pass card things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I went back and just said, oh, well, I have enough information. I have what he wanted. And went in. Maureen was there. She was obviously getting ready to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And we just... Oh, I got the logbook that my father had got from my uncle. It's this old family logbook from a camp.
Mm-hmm.
So I got that from Maureen, and because Dad had it for a year, and my uncle's down from Toronto, and he wanted it back. He was supposed to get it copied a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
Anyhow, so yeah, we basically went through the document, particularly the will, though. We went through it and sort of
Part
read
you
things.
found.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's interesting too, because this guy who died was owed £12,000. And back in those days, it'd be a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't get the money because the guy who owed it to him died in a duel.
Okay.
So we were going through that whole scenario and reading things, and then getting to the John Oland stuff and why he was his son, and he's one of those people who's like, okay, you got to explain this to me again, because you got to feel it sink in, right?
Yeah, and understand.
Yeah,
the
and
whole
understand the whole
thing.
thing, and how does this work, and how does that work, and then, so yeah, we went through the whole will, and
Just you and him there at that time?
Maureen's gone. Just the two of us.
Bob's not in there
Bob, I never saw Bob. No,
at all?
no,
Okay.
no, didn't see him. But Maureen said that Bob was there, and that Bob's son was there, because they had done the disc thing for the logbook, and yeah, we did that, and then we got into talking about, as I said earlier, the Halifax Olands, because this was the core of somebody back in the 50s. Did some family research, and they didn't like what they saw.
Okay.
So they made up all these big stories.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you're in the beer business, stories work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was Oland Breweries in Halifax.
Yes.
And so Oland Breweries created this sort of family lore around, things they had to create because they didn't like what they saw.
Okay.
And I think, look back in those days, when our family moved to Canada, we were broke.
Mm-hmm.
We had no money. We were started from scratch. And I think at one point, if you're growing up in a bigger city like Halifax, you start getting sucked into the keeping up with the Joneses, or trying to get ahead, or trying to lead in the community. And so back in those days, if you were still close to British culture, you would
You
try to
wanna
bump yourself
represent
up
that.
in the class system, and so they had this big claim that they were descendant of some nobility or something like that, which wasn't true. So we went through all those sort of scenarios and debunked all of them and whatever, and that was it. Then I left, and got in the car, and Lisa called me, actually, where the hell are you? And I was going to go, I hurt my knee sailing last weekend, so I was going to go to the drugstore and get some painkillers. I ended up doing it today. Tylenol has a muscle thing. I thought I'd try that. And went home, and on the way home I stopped at the Renforth Wharf to see if my kids were there, because they do kayaking there, and they swim after, but they weren't there. So I went home, and Lisa was sick, still is, so we went to the drugstore, and we went to Cochrane's, which is a little sort of grocery store market thing, and got some samosas and bananas and a few other things, and went home and had dinner, and we were trying to decide whether we were going to watch a movie or not, and we did watch a movie, but not the whole thing. And I went to the Irving to get some milk. We have hens, so I put the hens away at dark, 9 o'clock. I did a little bit of work in the garden, because she was doing a vegetable garden, and she started digging down that deep and saying it's all full of rocks. Wait, you only have to go down that far. She's bringing up the light brown soil.
Yes.
You know, and geez, yeah, so I in bed around a little after 11 and read for a bit and went to sleep.
Okay. Just kind of going back, so you got there around,
I'd say 5:30, yeah.
5:30. Maureen's the only one there?
Yep.
Nobody else is in there. And what time did you leave, approximate?
6:30.
6:30?
Yeah.
So you were there...
well, I know that I thought I sent her a text. I ended up sending my sister Lisa a text about 10 after 6 saying, I'm at Dad's, I won't be much longer. And then I know as soon as I got in the car, Lisa called me. Where the hell?
Where?
Because I sent the text to my sister, not my wife.
Okay.
So she didn't know where I was.
Yeah.
She knew I was going there. She just didn't know it was going to take me that long.
Right.
So
in that whole time, it was just basically about this issue with the genealogy and what you had found, that sort of thing.
It was that, and then the Halifax Oland stuff. And
so
everything.
no business or anything while you were there. Not at all.
No, not at all.
When you were there,
he's not really unless I'm talking about something that he's interested in. There's really no, he loses his attention span, drops off.
Right.
So if I'm over there and he's not engaged, I'll ask him about his boat, or I'll ask him about his last race or his fishing trip or something, because it's not a two-way conversation.
Right.
If he asks you how you're doing, he doesn't want a long answer.
Yeah.
Good, everything's great.
Yeah. Next question.
Yeah.
And in that time, did anybody call that you remember, or did he pick up the phone and have a conversation? Did anybody come in to the business?
Nobody came in. You hear noise, so because there's people upstairs, and so I don't hear real well. I wear hearing aids, so I don't hear everything. But you hear noise, so I might have heard doors opening and closing, but I don't know.
Did you hear stuff from upstairs? Anything from upstairs?
I think I did.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Do you recall what it was?
I remember hearing a door open, but I don't know if it was upstairs or on the level we were on.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall.
Could it have come from downstairs?
It sounded closer than that. It sounded closer than that, but
okay.
I don't know. I don't think I would have heard the front door open.
Right.
Maybe the door that's at the top of the stairs, or I don't know, maybe a door. I've never been upstairs, so I don't know, or the other office, but I heard it, and it sounded like a door. It didn't sound like a bang or anything like that. It sounded like a door.
Anything after that?
No.
Footsteps, voices, anything like that?
No, not at all.
So nothing occurred in that time then? Like I say, if your dad got a text, checked it?
Well, let me think of that. He was definitely... Jeez. When Maureen was there, he was checking his emails. Because he was trying to get her to do something about an appointment or something like that. And he was checking his emails. But after that, I don't think he touched his computer at all, but I don't remember. I don't remember I mean, he's always on his phone or always talking on his phone, but I can't imagine why he'd be texting if he had his email open in front of him.
Right.
So I don't really recall.
Okay. Did you have any conversation about what he was going to do that night, or when he was going to leave that night?
No, we didn't talk about anything else. I mean, we talked about that, and it was one of those things where you know the conversation started to die off. You're like, okay,
You know when to go.
you just sort of know when to go, right?
Mhm.
You're done, and I knew I had to get home anyways. I knew I was, late. So
What was the last thing that would have been said between you and your father?
the last specific conversation would have been specifically on that Halifax Oland's and their ruining of their wealth and doing these things. As far as the final words, like, okay, great, goodbye, I mean, I don't. It might have been me saying, yeah, gotta go, time for me to go, okay, great, whatever.
Didn't
Good
say,
night.
I'll see you tomorrow, I'll see you. Do you remember anything like that?
No. I don't recall him ever using that phrase anyways.
Okay.
No. I'm trying to think. I think he just goes, yeah, okay, yeah, see ya.
And what was he doing when you left? Was he standing somewhere? Was he sitting?
No, I'm sitting down. No, he's sitting down. I think he just looked at me. I mean, he generally, when I leave or when he loses interest, he either focuses on what he's reading or he gets on his computer or on his phone or whatever. So I think he was engaged in what he was reading.
And where was he when you left?
Sitting at his desk.
And that's
the big desk with the 4 screens.
was, I guess,
Closest to the air conditioning system.
Okay.
Closest to the street.
By the window, or in the middle area?
Well, he has his chair. Like if we were doing it, 4 computer screens would be here, and his sort of panel would be there, and the windows and air conditioning's there.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and then Maureen's desk is over that way, and then there's a long table where it's a bunch of stuff on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bob's office is off that way.
Off by the window.
Yeah.
I think it is. So nothing else then. Did you see anybody on your way out? Anything like that? Which way did you go? Did you leave? I believe there's a couple different ways there.
Yeah, I mean, my car was parked on right on the street, so it's interesting because I was there twice. I first parked in the parking lot where he parks.
Okay.
So when I walked out, I walked that way, and then my car's over here. So I walked over there and got in my car and left.
And where was it? Yours?
Right in front of, right across the street from the office.
In front of the restaurant?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Like whether it's in front of or where the car park is there, somewhere along that stretch. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And again, nothing when you left or text messaging be on the way home that he.
Oh, well, I called. Lisa called me to say, come on.
Right.
I'm not feeling well. I need you to come home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Des, I have to ask you this: did you have any involvement in your father's death?
No.
I ask you that because you were the last person there.
Yeah.
And it's something that I have to cover.
Yeah. Yeah. I have no reason to want my father dead, to kill him, no. I mean, we've had our things, but no, I wouldn't rob someone of the fun that they're having, and he's just no.
Can you think of who would have an interest in that? Who would benefit from that the most?
Because of a grudge or revenge?
For any reason, do you see who would benefit the most from your father's death?
Someone who wanted $20 out of a wallet to buy drugs. This is reaching a vindictive ex-girlfriend, but you know, I don't know that woman, so I don't know. But no, I think he's pissed a lot of people off, but not to that point where someone would, you know, would want to kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no one I know, and no one I can think of. I mean, those of us who are closest to him are probably the most annoyed by him.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, we have enough distance from him that he doesn't bother us in that kind of a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no.
Do you see any other reason why someone would do this? Any other reason why? The type of person that would do it?
Someone who's pretty sick, I guess. Someone who, I mean, if someone has killed him, which you're implying that that's the case, I mean, I can't. There's no one who has lost money by him. There's no one who he has, as far as I know, insulted in any way. I mean, there's no one that he has left out. I mean, I'm sure there were some of his old sailor buddies that were upset that they weren't included in the new sort of boat and what was going on there. But I mean, that's stuff that everybody in life has to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to the point to want to harm him. You know, I mean, granted, you know, us kids are much more used to what he says than other people might be, because
right.
I mean, you grow up with it and you become immune to it, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
not entirely immune, but you become immune more so than other people might.
Yes.
And you know, he could have said something to somebody and just that was enough, or
Mm-hmm.
said repeatedly things to people, and they're just like, I'm not going to put up with this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, who we would have said that to, I have no idea. You know, I'm not close to him in that way to know. I mean, he's in the office with Maureen and Bob, and I mean, those are the most pleasant, easygoing people who quite easily, if they weren't happy there, could have gone somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're both marketable in other ways. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't foresee, and you know, in Bob's case, you know, he even gets fun out of it because he gets to go on these trips. So,
right.
you know, no, I mean, so if somebody who knows him versus somebody who doesn't know him, and I guess that's, if you don't know him, then maybe you think there's some sort of robbery opportunity or whatever. But if you know him, I just can't see. He's never pissed somebody off like that.
Do you have anybody in mind that would come to mind to you as being involved in this?
No. I mean, as I said, the only person that comes to mind is this supposed girlfriend, because she really seems to be a whack job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they call her the Dragon Lady.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's this hostile, somebody who you'd think could be that Fatal Attraction type person.
Yes.
But that's just, I don't know the woman, so that's just me saying stuff that I hear,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's true. But you know, because you can't have that kind of reputation, and well, you know, I remember a story. They were all in a race on the boat, and she got invited to come on the boat, and at the end of the race, she left, and all the crew said, "If you ever on the boat again, we're not coming back."
Is that right?
Yeah, because she's just a bitch.
Well, I guess that
Yeah.
you earn the reputation by acting.
Yeah,
and
but I mean, just because you're a bitch doesn't mean you. But I don't know. I mean, if you're in a relationship with somebody and it doesn't go well, and I don't know if it was going well or not, and I don't know for sure it was a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, if it's the only thing that comes to mind, there's just nobody else.
Okay. Well, can you just hold on?
Yeah.
1 sec there. I'll be right back. Okay. Just come back in here. Just before I come back in, do you want anything? Can I get you anything?
If we're gonna be long, I'm gonna need to pee. If we're not gonna be long, then
Okay.
Sure.
It shouldn't be too much longer.
okay.
But if I can get you something else.
No, I'm good. I went to McDonald's earlier.
Okay.
So.
Again, I apologize for that, but some information's always coming in, and I have to take it. So I just want to go back because some new information's coming in, and I just want to go back and clarify a few things with you. Just the times, because of course the times are very important to us, and with surveillance cameras in that area, there's they're all over the place there, and I want to make sure the times line up so nothing is off. So I'll just get you to go back. You said that you left work the first time, and what time was that?
Quarter after 5.
That was the first time you went down to the office, quarter after 5?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned you went down twice.
Yeah.
So the first time was quarter after 5.
Ish, yeah.
And where did you park the first time?
Right in the parking lot, right where my dad parks his car.
Just
so
up the street a bit, on the right.
Yeah.
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 Okay, and then so quarter after 5.
About, yeah.
Okay, so you go to the door.
Yeah.
And
Went up the stairs and had my bag of stuff, and I forgot my stuff.
mm-hmm.
Well, some of my stuff. So I left and went to go back to the office, and then don't need that stuff. So I went back.
You went back to the office?
I went to go back to my office.
Okay.
And then gave up. I might have likely would have gone down Princess Street and up King and back in Canterbury.
You drove?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You drove back to your
Yeah.
office?
Yeah, I think I might have been just thinking, well, I'm not going to go,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
and then just, no, I'll go. I've got enough here, because what he wanted was the will.
So you went up the first time and spoke to your dad?
Nope.
Oh, you didn't?
No, got to the top of the stairs, didn't have my stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so I left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Drove back to Brunswick Square?
I don't think I got all the way there. I think I just went to, the bottom of Prince William and King,
Mm-hmm.
and then went up King and back in Canterbury.
So you didn't even go back to work?
No.
Okay. Okay, so then when you came back the second time, what time was that?
Well, I don't know exactly, but I know that Maureen was there for about 10 minutes, so I'm guessing, I think it was around 5:30.
That you get there the second time. Why did you take your car back around instead of walking?
Because I wasn't sure I was going to be going back.
Okay.
I was just probably going to leave,
Okay.
and And then he said, no, I got what I wanted here. But I had a bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But
what else did you have?
oh, I have a stacks of stuff. I had the stuff from Devin that he wanted, and I have this green book that somebody wrote back in the early 70s that, you know, I was going to give him, and that, you know, I left that in my office.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the thing that I wanted the most. And I wanted to get some pictures from that I had given him or Maureen 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, there's a lot of times I'll go there, and if it's, you know, if Lisa calls me or something, I just keep going home. So I went back, and I went in, and Maureen was there 5 or 10 minutes.
Just gonna go back, because the first time when we were speaking, I thought you had mentioned that you went back to the office, but it was locked.
No, I didn't go back to the office. I was going back to the office. I realized I didn't have the pass thing.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm not bothering with this.
Okay. And then the stuff you brought up, I guess we didn't cover that, but did you bring a bag? Or
a bag, yeah.
A bag,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
And so, bear with me, I'm just covering it again. I just want to be sure with it. And so the second time is 5:30?
Yeah, around that time.
Okay.
I mean, it would more, yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what time, but I would say 5:30. That seems about right.
And again, did you take the bag up with
Yep.
the second time?
Yep.
Okay. And what were you wearing? Because I just want to make sure who's coming in, who's going out. When we look at the surveillance, I can
Mhm.
say, that's Dennis, and that's this guy.
These pants, the shoes, a dress shirt, and a navy blazer.
You were wearing those pants, those shoes?
Those shoes, a dress shirt, not this, a collared dress shirt,
Yeah.
and a navy blazer.
And a navy blazer.
Yeah.
Okay. And what color was everything? I know the pants, obviously, because I'm right here.
Yeah, like the shirt is blue and white striped or checked or whatever. It's a button-down collar shirt.
Okay. Okay, so those are the times. And when you came back out the front, you said?
Mm-hmm.
And what time was that?
Well, when I got in the car, it was, I think, 6:30 because Lisa called me. So 6:30-ish.
That's when you would come back out.
Yeah.
And get back. And you said the second time you came, when you came around the block, you parked in front of the building, which would have been in front of Tandy's, in between the restaurant and the Printing Plus kind of area.
Yeah. So I went out and I walked up toward Princess Street and realized that that's not where I was parked because I was there earlier, and then went back, and I was going to go to the drugstore in Brunswick Square, and then I just went home.
So when you came out, you went left?
When I came out, I went left because I thought my car was, and then I went right, and then I got in my car and left.
But you say you were going to go to the drugstore. Did you actually go that way?
I don't think so, no.
Did you start that way and then say, well, no, I'm not going to go?
I remember crossing the street. Like, I remember being on one side of the street and then crossing to the other.
So like on the east side and then the west side of Canterbury?
Well, the side closest to the harbor being the west side,
Yeah.
and then the east side. And then saying, forget it, I'm going home.
So you actually got back to your car on the west side of the street and then crossed and then said, I'm just going to go home?
Okay, you're getting me confused on the side. I think I was on the west side near Princess Street, and then I remember going across. I don't know if there was a bunch of people in the way, I can't remember, and then just getting in my car and leaving.
Okay. And again, when you left, what's the approximate travel time for you to get home?
Usually takes about 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
And you went straight home?
No, I stopped in Renfort at the wharf.
Okay. And that was at 6-ish, you say?
I would guess it'd be 6:45. It'd take about 15 minutes to get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you do at
Well, I was hoping my kids were there.
Okay.
But
are they usually there?
Well, they're, because it's summer, they do kayaking where the rowing club is, And so after the kayaking, they can, because it's lifeguarded down there, they can go just walk along on the other side of the wharf where there's a swimming place. And I just hope, because it was such a great day yesterday, that they were, hanging out there, but they weren't. So
did you tell Lisa you were going there before you were coming home?
No.
Did she ask you? Like, hey, where you been?
Oh yeah, she was pissed off that I wasn't home right away.
Okay. Did you tell her, I talked to Dad, I stopped at the wharf for the kids?
I just said I was at my dad's office. I didn't say I stopped at the wharf.
Okay.
Yeah. Just when I got home, she was mad.
Were the kids there at home?
No, they're at their mom's. Yeah. So it was her son was there, and her son's girlfriend.
Did you know they were at their mom's?
Did I know my kids were at their
Yeah.
mom's? Oh yeah.
But you went to the wharf to see if they were there?
Yes.
Okay.
I knew that they're a week with their mom.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but they do these activities during the day.
Mm-hmm.
So when I didn't know where they were.
Right.
I just knew they were either at their mom's house or at the wharf or somewhere in the middle.
I see. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you first came home, was Lisa there waiting for you?
She was in the sunroom.
Okay.
But I mean, I went upstairs and got changed, and then I think I went outside looking for her in the garden, and she called me like, "Where the hell are you? I've been waiting for you."
Yeah.
And then she was in the sunroom, all wrapped up, cold, and
just kind of things are curious to me, but I know if it's me, I'm coming home, my wife's mad, I'm gonna go right to her and say, hey, I'm home, just going upstairs. Is there any reason why you switched the sequence of that and didn't say, hey, I'm home to her first and then went up? And
well, I did. I went around the house and I walked in through the living room, and our house is quite an open concept. So when you walk in, you can actually see every single room. And so I looked around, saw every room, and went upstairs, assumed she was upstairs, and she wasn't. And so I got changed, and then thought, okay, well, assuming she's not in the house, I went out to the vegetable garden, and she wasn't there.
Yeah.
So then I'm coming back in the house, and she's like, where the hell are you?
Okay. And that's why I have to clarify, because in my mind I have to get everything straight, and sometimes I go, okay, why?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh, and she was quite angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just the other thing I wanted to clarify too is, when we were first talking, and you mentioned, I said, about why we were here and this sort of thing, and you said you mentioned a crackhead or something, maybe doing something like this. Is there any reason why you
That's what you hear about on the radio. You hear these taxi drivers getting killed, or you hear, no, I have nothing to go on. It's just you guys. I mean, when we were at the house, at Mom's house, you guys, you didn't say anything, and when we got here, the guy who's the boss, the guy with the bald head, he just said, look, this is really serious. And it didn't take, I mean, we were all very understanding at that point that this wasn't a death of natural causes. I think we knew that at the house anyways. And I mean, you just don't have that many police cars around and police officers around just because someone had a heart attack. It's just not reasonable.
And now, I mean, we just came out in one unmarked car, but when you say police cars and that sort of thing,
at the office, you got people calling the house.
Oh, they were calling
the house, saying there's cop cars all over the place. There's cops everywhere. This woman who called my mother saying there's police everywhere.
Just
it wasn't. It just didn't smell good. And then we get here and he's saying, I've been hauled in off vacation for this. It's like, well, we all sat there and almost started to cry, because it's like, you can accept that, if your father has a heart attack or falls and bangs his head, it's unfortunate. But, when you start understanding, and you said it yourself, I mean, who would do this to your father? Somebody has done something to my father. You've told me that. And I mean, but that's all you'll tell me. You won't tell me anything else. And what happened to him? What did they do to him?
Are you asking me that question? Or
Yes.
Well, again, all I know is that the death did occur. I don't know much more than that because I haven't been there. I've been up here, so for the details, I don't know, and I would share them with you. I would certainly share them with you. But I guess what I'm trying to do is try to get as much information as I can to point us in the right direction. Our other guys do the other stuff.
Yeah,
So.
I understand. They said we weren't going to learn a whole lot today.
Yeah, and I guess like what do you think happened? And I asked you that, and I mean when you said the crackhead, I thought, well, is there a problem with that you knew of? I mean, yeah, I'm just saying what would make you say that? I guess.
Yeah, it's just because that's what you read about and hear about in the news, that these people seem to get rob places, for drug money or electronics, and trying to sell it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you just seem to think it almost seems like these people do this, and they rob some store for $20 and they've got their fix.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's definitely something that pops into your head as a possibility.
Mm-hmm. And just because you mentioned that too, they've been broken into there a couple times in that building. I'm not sure if you're aware of that.
No.
And they've got cameras. I'm not sure if that would surprise you or not, that they had cameras set up in there. So I mean, yeah, because of that problem too.
Yeah.
So when you say crackheads, I know where you're going. Maybe you heard something like that. So again, that's the part of the gathering that we need to do. And if somebody says something and I think, okay, well, is there a reason for that?
No, I'm not familiar with break-ins or any other issues I had, or even bums going in for money or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there'd be a possibility of seeing somebody like that come in in there? I mean,
well, I work uptown. I mean, that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the guys that are panhandling for money, but I mean, those guys are generally harmless, so you just say no and they don't really bother you after.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've had people come into our office, but I don't think it's ever taken anything to get rid of them,
right?
To shoot them along.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay, and again, not to offend or anything, asking that, but why do you say that? And you say, well, you told me something had happened to my father, and that's kind of the line I'm going on is, certainly if you knew of something that did happen or around there that certainly could help.
yeah, I mean, I wouldn't know anything more than what anybody else would know, because I don't know anything specific.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like relating to that building or any other building on the street, or just what ends up being you're reading in the newspaper or hearing on the news, whether and generally it's just something broken or stolen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there just trying to tie everything together here again in the end with times and everything? So when we do get the footage and go through that, everything. Was there anything else that you remember maybe inside the building? Because I think the cameras that are set up in there, the vantage point. Of course, I haven't looked, but. Did you go anywhere else when you left the office, or just?
When I went up to where I thought the car was parked, I did walk farther along because my knee's been bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I stand up, it bothers me. I walk around, it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have walked a little farther, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
No.
What about inside? Because I mean, I know there's external, but there are internal cameras as well.
I went up and down the main stair. I didn't go up the second level.
Okay.
In the front foyer, in the office.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Just in the office.
In the front foyer, in the office. Was in the bathroom, but I didn't.
The bathroom on that level.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was not on any other level.
Okay.
No.
The footage on the camera it's going to show you leaving at 6:30. It's going to be consistent with that. That's inside. Okay, and not taking a right or a left or anything. I just want to make sure so that he said he left, and here we've got him going right or anything else.
I feel comfortable that that's where I went. Yeah.
Okay, and like I said, well, we'll review those and find out what's on them. So,
yeah.
Okay, all right. I think we've got it all straight there with times and everything else. Anything else that's on your mind?
Just what happened, and that's what my sisters and I were talking about, and no, nothing else.
Okay. I'm gonna just consult you with my partner operator. Did you still need to go to the bathroom? Just one last time. We're just going to finish up, but if you had to go to the bathroom.
If I could, yeah.
Yeah, sure. right. I want to clarify a little bit more, just because there's a part that's a little bit confusing to me, and I want to clarify it. When you came the first time,
Yes.
and then you left,
I'm guessing, yes.
You went upstairs,
Yes.
and you took some things upstairs the first time.
Yes.
And so, just go through that again for me.
Okay, I walked in the building, and I walked up to the top of the stairs, and I was shuffling through my bag, and some of the stuff that I wanted to bring wasn't with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided that I should go back and get that, and then I was thinking at the same time, maybe I'll just go home.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I was sort of playing those two things off in my head, and got in the car and came back, and I probably sat in my car for a bit and did some texting or business, and then went back in the building.
So again, so you came out and went into your car,
Yes.
did some texting.
No, I don't know if I did. I don't know if I just took right off. I might have texted or looked at my email. I don't know. I know, and then I left, and then I came back, and
which route did you take?
I would have had to go down Princess, I think,
So you're on Canterbury.
out and down Prince William and up King,
And again, what time was that?
and 5:30.
That was at 5:30.
No, a quarter after 5
Quarter after 5.
ish.
Okay. Again, I'm asking. I want to clarify.
I don't know for sure what
Uh-huh.
time it was. I'm guessing.
What would make you say quarter after 5?
Well, because I think Maureen left around 5:30. I thought it was around 5:30, so it seems reasonable that it would have been before that,
Mm-hmm.
but not too a whole long before that. But, 10 to 20 minutes before that.
Okay. And again, the route is important because
I can't define. I mean, I might have gone. I mean, obviously, I couldn't go that way in Canterbury,
Yeah.
so I might have gone down to Duke Street, but I don't think so.
Okay, it's really important that you remember what you did, because we're going to verify all this. We haven't yet, but we're going to verify it. There's cameras in the cities, and so we want to make sure the streets you went on are the streets you did go on.
That's the one that's logical to me.
Okay, if that's logical, but what one did you take? I mean, it was yesterday, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see any reason why I didn't take that route.
Which one did you take?
That one.
Okay.
Wait,
do you know for an absolute certainty you took that one?
but I see no reason why I wouldn't have. Nothing comes to mind why I would not have taken that route. I can't go that way on Canterbury Street.
Right.
So.
But when you left, did you? I mean, the first turn. Did you take the first turn, or did you take the second turn? Because the first one would bring you onto Princess. The second one.
No, I might have. You know what? I might have got confused when I was going along, and I might have turned up Princess Street into the gravel parking lot.
You went up the wrong way. Up Princess.
Yeah, I might have done that because it's such a short little zip up there, right?
Mm-hmm. So you went in the gravel pit.
It's a gravel road, yeah. It's not a gravel.
Or a gravel parking lot.
Gravel parking
sort
lot.
of thing. So you remember going up there?
Yeah, because I think I had to either decide whether I was going to go home or go to the office, or whether I was turning around. But yeah, I was up in there. Yeah.
You were up in there. What made you go up?
Yeah, I don't know if I was thinking just go back to the office and park here, or whether I was thinking to do something on the phone. I don't.
What, I mean, did you realize you were on the wrong way street?
Oh, I knew I was on the wrong way.
Okay. So it
Yeah.
stuck out
I
to
would
you?
have. Well, no, I would have known.
So
I mean,
you-
I know factually that is the wrong way to go.
Okay. Now, why wouldn't you have mentioned that to me the first time? I mean, that's a significant thing.
Well, you asked me
I asked
to
you
really,
your route.
really think about this,
Yeah.
and I'm really trying to think about it, and so it wasn't significant, I guess, to me. I didn't realize that.
That you went the wrong way the first time?
No,
Up the wrong way, up
no,
the
I
wrong
didn't, I
street?
didn't realize that my route planning was so significant.
Well, you know, like I said, when I asked you, it's very important the route you take, and you don't recall going up the wrong way.
You know, okay, so I went. If you're a police officer and somebody goes up a one-way street 10 feet, it's probably a bad thing. But if you're me, it's
Well, it's significant in the sense that if I'm leaving an office, you know, that's now a crime scene. Going up the wrong way, to me, I would want to make sure my route is going to be, I'm going to say, here's where I went.
yeah. But I
And
mean,
it's going to be clear to me.
yeah, but look, I'm sorry, it's not 100% clear to me.
Okay.
And you said it's just yesterday. Well, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know how I get to work sometimes. I can be, totally zoned out on what's going on. So I'm sorry.
To now go up in the gravel driveway parking lot. I would remember that if I did that. It's just strange that you didn't mention
I
that.
don't think it's strange at all.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't.
If you asked me a couple times and I told you my route, and then I told you I went in the wrong way, and then I went into a gravel parking lot, would it seem odd to you?
No, it's jogging my memory.
Okay.
I don't see that as odd.
But this is very important to me. Like I said, every little detail
and I'm
matters.
trying to be.
So where did you go after the gravel parking lot?
I believe I would have gone down around.
And again, this is very important. Okay.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I was.
Did you were up in the gravel parking lot?
I went around. So up in the gravel parking lot, and I went down Princess Street and along Prince William, up King, and back on Canterbury.
You went along Prince William.
Down, around, up King, and to Canterbury.
Okay, so you were in the gravel parking lot, came back out.
Yes. No, I'm going the wrong way. I was going the right way.
Yeah. Went down Princess. You sure you went down Princess?
Pretty sure.
Could you have turned left and gone down and then turned down? And again, we'll verify it. I just,
I don't think so. I could have, but I don't think so.
Okay. Again, like I said, the details matter, and since
I
you
don't-
did go up that wrong way, so is it possible you could have gone down further instead of right down Princess?
It's possible, but I don't know why I would have.
Okay. Again, I guess you don't know why you would have gone up the wrong way on Princess either.
Oh, I know why I did that, because
Why?
I was jogging in my memory. I mean, you were asking me earlier,
No, but what would
Was
make
I
you go
going
up there
home?
the first time? If you're going back to your office, why would you turn left?
because remember I was thinking whether I was going to go home
Yeah, but
or go back to my office or stick with what I had.
you've grown up around the city all your life.
No, I grew up in Rossick.
Okay, but you've spent a lot of time in the city.
Yeah.
Would you go all the way through town, turning left on Princess to go home? Or would you go straight down? What would make you turn left?
To go home.
You said you were going to either go home or go back to the office. You couldn't decide.
No, I wasn't going to turn all the way up Princess Street the wrong way.
No, but what made you turn up Princess Street that way in the
To go into the parking lot.
Why would you go into the park?
Because I was thinking at the time, I don't need to go back to the office. I can just park here and go back to the office, because you can't drive back down Canterbury Street. So I had left where I was, and I was sort of, there was three choices: go to my office and get stuff, go home, or go back to the office because I had enough stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I was just playing around with that notion.
But if you're in that parking lot, that was where your dad's car was.
That's right.
And you would have to turn up like this.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're going to go, like I said, why wouldn't you go down there? And
if you knew exactly where you wanted to go, yeah, I guess you would.
But you did. You knew you were either going to go home or back to the office, both of which are this way.
Or stay.
But if you were going to stay, why wouldn't you stay?
No, if I'm right here, I can't go back there.
But you can go back around.
Yeah, I can. And
or you can go straight.
Look, I don't.
And that's what I guess I want to know is, did you go straight instead of going down?
I don't think so.
Okay. Is it possible that you did?
I don't know why I would.
And I guess it's not a matter of, I guess, I don't know why would, but did you? Because I have to know the
road. I don't think I did, no.
You don't think you did?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. And again, just the reason why you would take your car out of there instead of walking back to the office and then walking back, hey, am I going to go home? Am I not? I mean, traffic's heavy there, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think that to me, that I've already explained that. I was not sure I was going back to my office, not sure I was going home, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you did have to go. Your initial thing was going back to the office. Your initial thought was
no. My initial thought was three options.
Mm-hmm.
You know, am I going to bother to go in here? Am I just going to go home, or am I going to go back to the office?
Mm-hmm.
So it was sort of, you know, get in the car and try and figure out what to do, I guess.
Did you consider just running back to the office? You know, hey, it's just across the street. I'm going to run back and.
No, I think my first thing was just to go home, and I think it was after that I probably said no. I remember being at the top of the stairs, being disappointed, like, oh, you know, all I've got is this, forget it, type thing. And then I think my initial reaction was to go home. And then when I got in the car, I probably was, or maybe the whole way walking to the car, was deliberating which one to do, which way to go. So, anyways, yeah.
Is there something else that you know that happened that you're not telling me? You know, in this that you know.
No, I mean.
Is there anything else that happened that you're not telling me, or that did happen?
Like in the building or outside of the building?
Either one.
No, I mean, I remember. No.
Okay. It's really important we share it with each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Okay. There's nothing else, because, like I said, that's important to me. The wrong turn. So is there something else in there that you want to tell me?
I don't. No.
Nothing else?
No.
Okay. Because I want to be sure, and I thought we were sure before, and then when you told me that, no, I just want to make 100% sure.
Yeah. Look.
I don't want to have another conversation and something else happens, because.
Look, I don't.
So can you tell me the route again, when you went the first time, and then talk me through that again?
What I believe I did was leave my office, drive down Chipman Hill, drive up King Street, park in the parking lot, go up the top of the stairs, down the stairs, leave, drive somewhere, being challenged whether to go home or go back to my office or go back to Dad's office. Going back and parking on being on Canterbury Street, sitting in the car for a while.
When you say the second time you came back, you stayed in the car for a while?
No, it was the first time. I can't remember.
It's really important.
The first time I sat in the car for a while.
The first time?
Yeah.
And when you say a while, how long would that be?
5 minutes, maybe. 10 minutes.
Could have been 15.
If I was texting a lot or reading, long emails or weather, I mean, it could have been, because I mean,
Could have been more than that?
I don't think so.
So between 5 and 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
Go in the office and
When you sat in the car?
Oh.
Or just at that?
yeah. I can't remember. I sat in the car the first time on Canterbury Street. I did stop on Canterbury Street. And then I parked in the parking spot beside my father's and went inside and then left. And then I went to the gravel parking lot.
Did you sit there? Think?
I don't think I was
You said you
very
sat
long.
there and tried to decide whether you're gonna...
No, I don't think it was really sitting there. I think it was more. No, and then
Tell me what happened.
You've got me all confused now. It's not your fault.
No.
It's not your fault. Yeah, and I don't remember. Because I know I was parked on Canterbury Street. I know it was the parking lot there, and I know it was parked beside my father. And I can't remember if it was. Well, I know that the first time I went in where I was parked, and after that. I'm having difficulty getting it straight.
Okay. I want you to think hard, though. I want you to, it's really important, like I said. I want you to think. Take your time thinking. And just play it through. And let me know what took place.
You have me intimidated now, so now I'm getting a mental block.
Okay.
Like you're
No, I'm just,
me.
I'm trying to,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, because I'm
understand.
just, I get
Yeah.
focused and I get
I know.
trying to pay attention.
And I'm trying to focus, and I'm trying so hard to
Just give me 1 sec, Ken.
So I went up the driveway, sat there, and then parked. And there. No. I went in. Sit there. I drove in and I parked. Then I left. I went around and then I stopped there. And then I went in. So I came in and I parked there. Then I left there and I went around and I stopped there. Then where'd I go after that?